Good afternoon. It's Joe Romero, your Subaru Added Security and Equity Shield product partner for the Portland and Denver zones. Last week, after we did the video on the Subaru Equity Shield Optimum Vehicle Protection product, got a message from the mothership in New Jersey requesting two things. Number one, never have a chicken in my company car again. And number two, do a follow-up video on the Equity Shield gap protection. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the Equity Shield gap. In the Portland and Denver zones in 2018, we have only had 5 retailers sell Equity Shield gap for a total of 344 contracts, and that is a 0.44% penetration for the year. That is not very good, and we need to do something to change that going into 2019. I did want to talk to you about what is Equity Shield gap, and in most cases, gap protection is very similar. Gap protection protects your customers from having to pay a deficiency balance in the event their vehicle is declared a total loss. It will also pay their deductible up to $1,000. Most of them have a max term of 84 months, which we do as well. We cover up to 150% of MSRP or 150% of NADA retail value, plus full retail price of any cancelable back-end products. Our max amount financed is $100,000, and the maximum deficiency balance that we'll pay is $50,000. Subaru Equity Shield Gap is available to be sold on any new Subaru, any certified pre-owned, but in addition to that, any of your other used cars or any other make or model vehicle. So it's available for virtually anything on your lot. It's approved by Subaru Motor Finance and all the other major lenders and credit unions. Subaru Motor Finance has a maximum advance on Equity Shield Gap of $999, but please be careful because different states have different requirements on what you can and cannot sell gap for. Equity Shield Gap is priced aggressively. As I've checked around other places, we are usually right in line with your pricing, if not lower priced. I don't want to get into the pricing here on the video, but I have attached the rate sheet to the email so you can look and see where you're at as far as pricing on the different terms. There is something that makes us a little bit different than the other gap products, and this is where we are able to set ourselves aside. Not only do we cover the deficiency balance, not only do we pay the deductible up to $1,000, but Subaru Equity Shield Gap Plus will give your customers an additional $1,000 to come back to your store to buy a replacement vehicle. Again, Gap Plus will pay the deficiency, pay the deductible, and then it will give the customers an additional $1,000 to come back to your store to buy a replacement vehicle. So that's the ins and outs of the gap. I do have all the information attached to the email, but I do want to show you how easy it is to present the gap product on the menu. I've seen so many people do it a number of different ways, and over the years I've learned that this is the way I do it every time, and it explains the product properly to your customer. So when I get to gap on the menu, in the event your vehicle is declared a total loss for just about any reason, your insurance company may want to settle. You may owe this much to the bank. This amount in the middle, known as the deficiency balance, will be paid in full. The deductible required to file that claim will be paid up to $1,000. And in addition to that, you would get an additional $1,000 to help you buy a replacement vehicle, good only at the selling dealer. It's the way I present it every time. It's very simple. In the event your vehicle is declared a total loss for just about any reason, your insurance company may want to settle. You may owe this much to the bank. This amount in the middle, known as the deficiency balance, would be paid in full. The deductible required to file that claim would be paid up to $1,000. And in addition to that, you're going to get an additional $1,000 to help you buy a replacement vehicle, good only here at your selling dealer. So that's the way I present it. I hope that helped. One last thing, I do have a challenge for all of you out there, and I know that you're not the decision makers in your store. In most cases, you can't sign a contract saying that we can or cannot sell gap in your store. But if any one of you out there on my finance team can get me an appointment with one of the decision makers, and you may be interested in selling gap at your store, I will buy you and your significant other a dinner out at the restaurant of your choice. Again, if you can get me an appointment with a decision maker to discuss gap, I will buy you and your significant other dinner out at the restaurant of your choice. That's all I have for this week. You know how to get a hold of me. Have a great weekend.